I can't. You know, I think there's nothing. If that's how you want to do it, but whatever. Nah, nothing wrong with that at all. Just everything good. Next time he finds it, he should put an air tag in it. Does he do this often? How do you lose your wallet? I never understood that. Oh. I don't know. I have a very easy habit. So, for those of you listening to this, you want a quick little hack on how to not lose your wallet? This is what you do. So, what you're going to do is that you pick a spot in your house that you want to put your valuables, and you put your wallet in the same spot every single time. So, you step in the house, you take your wallet or your purse out, you put it in its home, and you leave it there. You don't ever take it out of that spot. So the way this helps you not lose it is because you know the only place it can be is that spot. So just a little hack. So that's why if anybody sees me on stream, why I put my wallet on like my little windowsill thingy, like that's why I put it there. It's there every single time. Little side thing. But am I good to continue? Okay. So because what's it called? Mute my mic on. I'm going back on stream now, so I'll put my mic back on. But anyway, so let's see. Let's pick up where we left off. So my dad eventually started the business. I had to move to live in my new house in King of Prussia, and what's it called? And I moved to the new school, Haley Elementary School. And so going through school, I had to go through the same process again of remaking friends. Everybody in the class didn't know me. The way that the elementary school worked was that every grade was like four different teachers, so there was like I think like 20 kids per a teacher or whatever. So like in your grade, there was about like 80 or some kids. I don't know. I didn't know the exact head count. And then what's it called? After elementary school, there are four elementary schools in my school district. Now five. Um, all the kids from all the different elementary schools would go to your middle school, and so that middle school would be a culmination of those five schools. So you wouldn't know anybody besides like after school or after school sports or whatever it is. So you really only knew the people that you went to elementary school with until you hit fifth grade when you got mixed with everybody, and that's when you had to begin the whole new orientation again and know all the other people that you never knew beforehand. So that was Kale Elementary for me, just quickly summarized. But yeah, going to kindergarten, sorry, not kindergarten, first grade, 6 years old. Yeah, I was the new kid. And same shit happened again where I was getting all my classwork done faster than my peers. And I was just distracting other people from getting their work done. And so at Kaylee, they basically did the same thing, but they were a little bit more understanding. I guess I don't even know how to say it. Because what I got as my consolation prize was that every single time math and reading came up, they would pull me out of the classroom, put me in a classroom near the principal's office, where they had one teacher that just watched me, and they would just give me Sudoku puzzles to do the entire day, like for like whatever classes I needed to not be in. And so like only when it came to like maybe social studies and science I was allowed to be like go back with the class, or like lunch was like there was lunch for school. I don't know, it felt like I was in what's it called, in school suspension or like something like that. I don't know, like I didn't understand, but like it was just like it was like you're gonna go to this classroom with this teacher. Here's some Sudoku puzzles and word searches for you to do. There's a whole shelf of books you can go read over there. You can go to the library or go play on the computers in the school library. It's like, all right, well, I basically had the freedom to go around, but it was so boring because I got to talk to nobody. And so basically all the questions that I had about life, I had to go to fucking Google for. or like I had to go research it in the library. It's like that's literally all how I spent like half of my day. So half of the day in school, I was just fucking around, like not doing anything. And so that was like first grade. Second grade, they found this one Indian kid and this one white girl that were at about my same level, and so they had three of us together. And then it wasn't until third grade they finally had like an established like accelerated students group of like I don't know maybe 20 of us. And so that went on until fourth grade. And so you have to remember the interesting about us is that every single time, or what's it called for me, was that every single 4 years was a presidential election. So fourth grade for me was like the mock election between President Obama and at the time was John McCain. And so it was interesting because like everybody I liked Obama. I as a kid I liked listening to his speeches. I thought he spoke really well, and so I voted for Obama when I was fucking 9 years old. But yeah, I never like the same childhood or the same what's it called the same thing happened with my family life and my lack of friends life. Like my parents didn't believe in me having playdates, so I could never invite anybody over to hang out, and nor could I go over to anybody's house for like whatever. There was only one time at the end of fourth grade that I was invited by somebody to their birthday, and I finally was able to go. Like that was the only time I ever went to somebody's birthday in our school. Um, and so it was like it was so fucking boring. Like all I did was just go to school to like learn more shit that I couldn't learn with my teachers, and then go back home, get my homework done or whatever, and just like fuck around. Like I would have to literally sneak out of the house to go spend time with like my neighbor, the other kid that was the accelerated kid, and then there was another kid that was a grade above us. That he introduced me to anime. So I remember I was like, this is what at the time I think I was 6 or 7 years old at the time, and we were hanging out at the park near our house, and he was like, "Dude, you ever heard of Naruto?" I was like, "What the fuck is that?" No, I didn't say what the fuck was that. I didn't know how to curse at the time, but I was like, "What's that?" And he's like, "Go to this website called tailedfox.net. You'll like it." So that's how I got into anime. Because like growing up, the only anime that I saw, like the Japanese animations that I was somewhat aware of was like Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Dragon Ball. That was it. This there's so much stuff about my childhood that I can give you that lets you understand like who I am, like why I got into the stuff. So long story short, my grandparents worked hard, but one of the things that they tried to do is that they tried to make money gambling. So like they would play like baccarat, right? So like I don't know if you ever seen me go through my phase of trying to learn gambling, but that's where that stems from because like everybody in my family on my mom's side of the family tried to do like gambling, whatever. And surprisingly, like they managed to like so we're not like how people like gamble and they suck and they go into debt like they're not like I never saw that anime Kakaguri or whatever, but like so basically my step grandpa was very okay. Like he wasn't terrible because Baccarat is pretty simple. It's like you either win or you lose. There's no but the there is obviously the casinos always win. The house has an edge, but if you know how to play properly, you can basically enjoy the benefits of the casino. That's basically what it is. You're not going to win money from the casino, but the casino is going to give you a lot of free compensation. They call it comps or whatever. So like because of how much my grandpa played, he was always getting like the penthouse suite. So like at the time, the only casinos you could go to in the area was all the way in Atlantic City. And so like every summer we were always getting like the presidential suite and all this other stuff at like the Trump Taj Mahal or like the Trump Towers or Bally's Casino or Caesars or whatever. We'd always go and we'd always get to have the complimentary buffet and all this other stuff, yada yada yada. Like I never understood that. I just thought like this is just what families did. And so like I remember that my grandpa won like a ton of money and he got me like an iPod Shuffle. But the thing I really enjoyed was when we went to the hotels, right? Is that we never had cable. So like this was like my first time I got to watch things like SpongeBob or like anything from Nickelodeon, anything from Disney Channel, anything from Cartoon Network. And at night was like obviously Toonami, where I got to see like Bleach and like One Piece and Naruto for like the first time outside of like having to go on tailedfox.net to watch like Naruto. Whatever was uploaded at the time. This was back like 2007, 2008. Like I remember Cartoon Network had like a website. Cartoon Network had like video games on it. And remember I was playing like the Naruto game and shit like that. Before I understood like what gaming was. Like I didn't like I knew that video games were fun, but I didn't understand to the extent of like what I could do with video games. So that was like elementary school for me. So like not really many friends besides what I had in school or like my neighbors or whatever. And so that was basically what that was basically how I grew up. Trying to see if there's anything else I'm missing that's major. So the incident happened while I was in elementary school, but I want to give you like the full context, everything before I introduce you to that whole fucking bag of shit. So okay, let's see. So the only influences that I had were like family. So like remember how I told you that my grandma remarried and I have a what's called a step grandpa? My step grandpa had kids with my grandma. So like so that's a separate generation of family members separate from my mom and my mom's family, okay? And so they grew up most of the time in America. They went to Upper Marion High School and they went through college and everything and they came out they're millennials, like hardcore millennials, okay? Like the millennial stereotype, they fit it to the T. That's all I'm gonna say about that. And so, but they try to do their things as family members. Like every single summer they take us out to the park to play. Like me, my family, and my family friend. Like we would go to the park. I would go to the park and try to socialize with all the kids because that's the only time they get out. Or like there was at the Upper Marion Township Library. I don't know if you've ever been there, but like every summer they would have the summer reading program where you'd get like a book log and you can write your books that you read. It encourages the kids to go to the library to borrow books and read. So like I read like all of Magic Tree House, all of the Warriors series. I couldn't touch Naruto because I was in the fucking teenage book section. You had to be in middle school. You couldn't touch it because you had to be 13. You had to be eighth graders to fucking borrow that shit, which is so annoying to me. Um, but yeah, but I read everything like under the sun. Like I was reading everything that they recommended, anything that I liked. Like that was like my escapism. And then like at the end of the summer, you would turn in your book log and you'd get like a fucking whatever. You get like a medal and you get like free ice cream at like Petrucci's ice cream at like the little chicken on Henderson Road. I don't know if you remember that. So yeah, that was literally like that was the only thing I could look forward to in the summers. Oh, and because my grandparents worked really hard at like a factory, they would get like summer passes to go to like Darney Park or Hershey Park as like the company picnic day or whatever. And so like every year we'd go to like Hershey Park or Darney Park. So like I grew in love with like roller coasters and thrill rides. Like that's something that I really enjoyed. Everybody in my family was old, so nobody would ever ride with me. Sometimes my mom would force herself, or like my great uncle before his back got fucked up would like I'll go with you, don't worry. And I always want to sit in the front. I never wanted to sit in the back. So I didn't mind waiting the extra hour to get to the front seat because that was always the fun part. But so yeah, that was everything leading up to the end of elementary school. So fourth grade, we had our coming up ceremony, and then onward to Upper Marion Middle School, where what's it called? And so oh yeah, right. So transition between fourth grade to fifth grade. So here's basically what happened. Those the millennials in my family, they had boyfriends. And so those boyfriends had an influence on me because there was outside of my dad, there weren't really many strong male figures in my family. And so, I would just, these were like American dudes, okay? Like these are like white dudes that were like, dating my millennial family members. And so, I was always trying to get to know them and I was always interacting with them. And again, as a kid, you're innocent. You don't know fucking anything about these people. Like you think that they're another adult. Like, okay, I can talk to you, right? Because this is going to tie into the story later too. But for the most part, and I'm not going to give them any names, but one of them, so basically of the millennials, there's the oldest millennial and then like two younger millennials. So that's what I'm gonna say because I don't want to dox anybody. So, but each one of them had their own like boyfriends and whatever. And so the youngest millennial had a boyfriend. This one is very important that we're gonna tie back into later. And then the oldest millennial had a what's it called had a boyfriend as well. And this person worked for Google at the time. They were doing a whole bunch of tech shit, and they got me really in love with technology. So like at the time was like the whole MacBook that everybody was getting, like almost when we got to the middle school and we got like the MacBooks. But like I got to play with like GarageBand. They got me like I always got the hand-me-downs, so I got like the really old shitty Windows Millennium computer and then the really old shitty Windows XP computers. But I was happy because I got to do shit. I got to use all the programs that were on the internet. Like those are like my first computers outside of like using the computers in my dad's business. So like long story short, my dad ran a jewelry store business. I think it's safe to talk about that now because like I'm gonna I try to not dox anybody, but I'll say that because basically there was a kid that tried to like that didn't like me and tried to explained that that's what my dad did for work, and so he tried to like ruin my dad's business by writing like bad reviews online or whatever. My dad was not very happy with me about that because like people can write shit on the internet, but you can't like get it taken down. You know what I mean? So I was like, that was like growing up as a kid. Like I didn't know like oh I didn't know that he was gonna do that. Like but whatever. It's like the business is long since closed, but um but that's how I got my name, my online name, because the business is named Willie Wren. So I never would have came up with that on my own. By the way, I was very shitty with coming up with usernames. But it clicked because everybody in the family called me Willie. Everybody called me either Willie or Lee, because Asian family is like one syllable words like Lee or whatever. But anyway, that's what stuck with me. But anyway, so because my oldest millennials, hold on, gotta check this. Okay. Anyway, so the oldest millennial's boyfriend, let me use their MacBook, got me to try out all these different things. I got to learn about using GarageBand, making a podcast, because this is when the whole podcast stuff was starting to kick off. He and my oldest millennial got me to learn how to they bought a domain for me and helped me learn how to set up a website. I created a website called phonos.com, and I was like, oh, this is cool. I want to take this as far as I can go, because growing up as a kid, money was always a taboo topic to talk about. Despite the fact that like my dad was trying to run a business and my mom was trying to help him out and everything, and I remember when I tried to I forget, this is another important event. When I was growing up watching all the anime and stuff that I did, right? Like all that stuff, inspires you as a little kid. You have like goals and dreams from that shit, you know what I mean? And so there was one time when we were going Christmas shopping, because every single Christmas, at the King of Prussia Mall is always the Christmas shopping at Macy's or JCPenney's or wherever the fuck it is. And I don't know why. I can't remember. I just remember the memory of this. And so we were waiting in line at the checkout line at Macy's. I don't know if you've ever been to Macy's at the mall before growing up as a kid. But if you can remember this type of memory, right? It's like, we're waiting in line. It's like Christmas time, whatever. Everybody's getting in line to check out this shit. And so, like, as a kid, I think this is this is winter of first grade year, I think is what it was. So, yeah. Yep. Because I wrote all this down in a journal somewhere that I've kept away for a bit now. But every now and then I go revisit it or whatever. But anyway. So, basically, my idea was that because Naruto wanted to become Hokage, right? In my head, I was like, I don't really like what's going on with, like, how I was growing up as a kid, how lonely I was and all that stuff. And I saw a lot of relatability between me and Naruto. And again, I'm not saying this to be a cringe kid or whatever. That's just how I saw it as a kid. Because I grew up, like, I didn't really have much connections with anybody. And so I basically said out loud, I don't know why I said it out loud, but basically, just kid talk, whatever, right? And so I said that out loud that I wanted to become the next president of the United States. And so everybody in line that was behind us, it's all, it's America. Everybody there is whatever, Indian, white, Latino, whatever the fuck they are. And they heard that from like a fucking 6-year-old kid, and they're all like, "Oh my god, that's amazing," you know? But my dad was so fucking embarrassed, like he was dead embarrassed. And so he basically pulled me aside, he tried to get me to shut up. And so but basically I remember, and my mom had to remind me of like the rest of the story. Some dude got in front, like, pulled my dad aside. Just like he pulled me aside, he pulled my dad aside. And basically my mom filled me the rest of the blank. So again, it's like, this is not because I had like the sharpest memory. My mom had remind me of this. So I'm not saying this I'm saying this because my mom told me this. The rest of this. Basically, this white dude reprimanded my dad, who told me, like, don't, like, he basically tried to shut me down. When your parents try to, like, get you to not act out in public or whatever. And so that guy was not happy with how my dad handled that, because he, like, as a concerned parent, like, you shouldn't do that to your kid. And so I didn't really understand that and process that as a kid, because all my life, every single time I tried to argue or talk back against my dad, I was always told, like, yay, just shit, like, to tell your kids to shut the fuck up, It's like, basically the equivalent is like, stop talking back, like, if you talk back, I'm gonna beat your ass when we get home, you know what I mean? So, like, that's what I grew up with. To me, that was normal. I was like, like, I already, because again, like, I was growing up as a, and again, I don't say this as a genius kid, but like a book kid, okay? I already knew more than, like, adults that I couldn't even ask questions about. And so every single time, and the other trait about me and my family is that because I was always, I had nobody to talk to, I was always asking people questions. I would ask my grandparents questions, I would ask my millennials questions, I would ask my parents questions, and nobody could answer my questions. I hated it so much. So that's why going to school felt like prison, because the only thing I could do is just Google it. Whatever existed on the internet, whatever the internet was at the time. And then I would have to go borrow books on subjects that I didn't even know anything about. And some of the stuff that I got into as a kid, you couldn't even check it out because you're a kid. You can't check out stuff on that topic. And so, and so with the fact that I was always asking questions and I was always getting either no's or go ask your teacher about it or go to the library or I don't want to talk about it anymore or if you talk back I'm going to beat your ass, like that was like basically all of my childhood and why I cut a lot of I only would interact with my family members of my age. So putting the timeline right, I'm the oldest of my generation of kids and childhood friend. So I was the oldest. It was me, and then my childhood friend, and then my younger childhood friend's sibling, and then so forth, right? But so basically, I was the oldest. So with me being the oldest and born first, like everybody had this expectation of me, especially with how well I was doing in school. Like everybody wanted to see me be successful, go to college, whatever, blah blah blah. All this stuff was just pushed onto me at a young age, but they didn't know like a lot of the stuff behind the scenes of what was going on at home, and most of that shit is normalized. By the way, guys, the way that I was raised, like I would not wish this onto anybody, but this is just my story. I'm not trying to I don't believe in victimhood or whatever it is. I'm not trying to get you guys to feel sorry for me. I'm just telling you as what it is, so you can better understand me. Anyway, so yeah, so like growing up as a kid, being threatened by your dad that he's gonna kill you, like, he's gonna beat you to death to kill you, like, that was, like, normal to me. Like, I didn't know, like, sometimes I would argue in front of with my dad in front of people. I don't know what it would be for, like, fully. Like, I just know that it would just be stupid shit, like, like, I'm trying to do this with my life, or, like, I want to do this. I don't want to do the things that you want me to do. And it's, like, it would just get to the point where, like, we'd argue, my dad would get angry, and here's the deal. I'm cutting my dad some slack here, and again, it's like I am not excusing bad behavior, okay? For anybody listening to this is the context, okay? My dad's dad was very bad with his anger, very anger issues, whatever you want to call it. And so I don't know if it was genetic, I don't know if it was hereditary, I don't know if it was just passed along because he saw what his dad to his siblings. So my dad has like a lot of siblings. He's like one of like 6. So like this was normal for him. And so the way that he disciplined his children came from how his dad disciplined him. So, anytime that your kids would talk back, it was either the belt the rod or wherever the fuck it was, and you would get your kid to basically just strip down, almost butt naked down to your underwear, and you lay on the floor, and that's it. Whatever it was, the time and place didn't matter. That's just how it was, corporal punishment. And so, and there's a point where, like, spanking your kid, like, okay, I can understand that. But to get to the point where, like, you're leaving, like, welts and, like, bruises on your kid's back, I don't know, Chief. I think that's child abuse. But, and the thing is that, like, that shit's, like, normalized in, like, Asian, Middle Eastern, even, I think, even some American culture stuff, like, in, like, the South, like, that, like, from my research, like, where does this whole idea of, like, beating your kids into submission is, like, the way to educate your kids, like, I don't know where it stems from. But for the most part, I think it just, it's prevalent in most cultures, but like, as we become more modernized, like, that phases out, because most of the kids that grew up with that type of shit don't want to do that to their kids. So, a little bit of context as to the reason why, like, if you guys wonder why I can take, like, a physical, like, I don't, like, why I got into fighting, why I got into learning all the other shit that I did was because, one of the motivations that I wanted to know how to basically, like, I'm gonna admit this now, like, I wanted to be able to kick my dad's ass. Like, that's basically what it was. Like, if I ever had to throw hands with my dad as a kid, because, you're powerless as a kid. You can't do anything. You can't really fight back. So it's like, but if I ever needed to protect myself, I could literally, like, fuck somebody up. That's basically what it was. That's the reason why. That's the only reason why, when we were in high school, when that person picked a fight with me, like, that's the only reason why I was able to restrain and, like, lock the person down. Is because, like, I've been training in martial arts since I was a kid. Like, not because I had any real, like, sifu or teachers or whatever. It wasn't until college I had an actual real sifu. But, like, for the most part, I was always, like, studying martial arts from all of the studying that I did. And so, I never got to go to karate class or any of that other shit. But the way that I learned how to fight was in my family. So, like, with all the other guys that were around my age, I basically showed them everything I knew, and I basically just, like, fought with anybody that was willing to spar with me. And so, and even at the playgrounds, like, obviously you don't want the parents to catch on, because, you don't want to be choking out little Timmy while, like, everybody's just trying to, like, play whatever it is. But, like, that was the way that I did it. Like, I played with all the other kids. Like, a lot of kids were bigger than me. A lot of kids were taller than me. There was this one girl that was, like, in my family friend that was, like, fucking tall as shit. And she was more of a tomboy, but we would always fight. It was to the point where, like, I got a bloody lip from, like, how much we play fighted. You know what I mean? But this is, like, what boys do, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying, like, she just happened to be a tomboy. So, like, she didn't, like, she always was happy to hang out with the guys and, like, play fight or whatever. But I always liked that because growing up as a kid, it let me know where I stood amongst the other kids, because in social groups, when you're growing up as a kid, like, you want to know how you fit into the group. And so knowing that I was, like, a lot faster and a lot more wittier than the other kids in terms of, like, I wasn't the tallest, I wasn't the strongest, but, like, I could carry my weight against most of the kids at my same age and my same weight class. So, like, I didn't have any issues with that at all. So, like, because I was getting beat the shit out of at home, taking a punch or two or a kick or two from a kid wasn't going to faze me because I got way worse. Like, the way I look at it is that you're not going to hit me harder than a metal pipe. That's all that it is. Like, I hate to say it that way, but, like, you're not going to hit me harder than a belt. Like, if I had to compare a punch to getting, like, whipped by a belt, it's like, bro, getting whipped by a belt is way worse than any punch you could deal to me. Like, I'm not gonna get, like, I will obviously take some damage. Like, I will get, I will feel the pain, but it's not as painful as what I had to go through. So that's all I'm saying. This is not to brag or whatever it is. This is just to explain, to give you the context as to why I was never afraid of conflicts with people, physical conflicts with people, because I got my training at home. But yeah, that was growing up as a kid, going into middle school, because of what my millennial's boyfriend was called got me into was all that computer stuff. And that's why I created the job applications to give out to people. Like, I didn't know what to do exactly, but I was trying anything anyway, because in my family, money and all these other topics were taboo. And I wanted to make money. And I tried to, ask my parents if I could do, all the other kids in the school were talking about how they got allowance money from their parents. And with my parents being poor middle class, I got laughed at when I asked if I could get like, even quarters, whatever. It's like, like they already pay for the food on the table. They already put the roof over our head. Like, what more do you want? You know what I mean? It's like, that's literally what you get. It's like, all you get are Christmas presents and that's it. And so that's when I started asking for money instead of like Legos and stuff. Like, I asked for if I could get money instead. It's like, because I didn't know what to do, but I was trying to figure out ways to make money, and I tried to research whatever ways I could to make money. It's like one of my first hustles in elementary school was like, how every single year was Halloween and we all go trick or treating. Like, I would take my candy and I would stick it in the fridge and then wait a couple of months and just sell it back to kids in school. Like, that's how I made my first bits of money. Like, that was very, like, I was trying to, whatever I could. I didn't even understand what entrepreneurship meant. I didn't know what the fuck it was. But my mom told me survival stories when she was in the camps where, like, when you're living in between Vietnam and the Philippines, and you're trying to like wait until you move to the like you're trying to make whatever money you could. So like she would take mug bean seeds. I don't know if you ever had string beans before, like the little like white stuff. Okay. You can just type to me. But what's it called? But I was just asking if you knew what string beans were, but don't worry. I'm not. If you can't type because you're playing, you're playing. Okay. Some people don't know. Some people are like, ew, what the fuck is that? Like, I've had reactions like that before. But anyway, she would like take that and she would sell that in the camps, and whatever money she got, she would go buy sugar and anything to make pastries, and she would make pastries and sell that for money. Like, she was very very entrepreneurial at that shit, and so she always told me about it. Hold on, Alex texted me. Let's see if she wants to join. Anyway, let's see what else. Okay, so yeah, so that's why I got into the whole idea of trying to learn how to make money. And so that's why I saw like making a website, maybe I could make money from the website, maybe I could make money from YouTube or whatever. And so like my motivation at the time was that I wanted to learn how to make money because I hated school. I didn't like school anyway. It was so boring to me because going to school every single day was like going to prison. And when we transitioned from elementary school to middle school, this was when Obama became president, and down all the way to the Department of Education. I don't know if you even remember this, but basically they dumbed down education real bad in school, and it was very noticeable for me. I can't speak for anybody else. But we went from like in our school district hard courts math to the everyday math program. And I remember in fifth grade because they didn't have the accelerated kids group anymore. They thought because all the schools were combined, from my understanding, everybody's on the same level or whatever. And so basically what happened was that we all got put into the same class, and I was asking my teachers like, why are we doing third grade? Okay, Alex. Jesus Christ. But anyway, so I'm explaining to person about what's called the story of my past, because I finally I finally confronted my I basically got in front of the family and what's it called got in front of like a good like the family members that I wanted, as well as the what's called the childhood friend, to just say like I'm no longer going to keep this under wraps anymore, because I was trying to give them privacy for the longest time because I didn't want to drag anybody in the family's name in the mud. And I'm not planning on doxing anybody or saying any names, but it's about time that I finally talk about this, because like my whole mission my entire life has been to make sure that nobody has to go through the childhood and stuff that I had to go through ever. And again, it's like, I don't have any, like, I never had anybody to talk to, and I had nobody ever to discuss this stuff with. But I already knew already from the bottom of my heart, and is that I don't want anybody else to go through the shit that I went through. Like, I'm not perfect, obviously. I've made my mistakes with like what I've said online, getting angry while playing League, whatever. But for the most part, it's like I already know why I'm living, and I'm not waiting for anybody else's permission to do what I want to do with my life. That's it. So I just wanted to let them know that I wanted the whole family to know. I don't care. I'm gonna go to public about this because I've been waiting for, like, I'm not gonna wait for permission, like, but I'm not, obviously I'm not gonna try to dox anybody, but I need to talk about this because it's important, and especially for like other people that may be affected by this. Like, it's important to me. Like, I don't care for the rest of my life. I'm fine being the enemy of the people, like of people that don't like me, and the very small people that still want to be friends with me. It's like, that's fine. Those are the only people I care about. But anyway, to catch you up, Alex, so that you know why I'm explaining this. So, like, you already know this already. I've already told you already. But anyway, um, so yeah, this is why in middle school I was so keen on trying to learn how to make money. So, like, I don't know if you ever heard rumors in the school, but I wasted $500 to buy from this Chinese website that I didn't know was like a scam site, bootleg site, or whatever. And I was trying to get into wholesale, and so I bought like 20 copies, 20 quantities of, at the time it was Black Ops, Call of Duty Black Ops for Xbox. And so I had that shit to my house. I was like, "Oh my god, it's $500. I can just resell it. Like, this is what retail is." Like, I didn't know that if you want to sell that stuff, you need a license and you need to go to the actual distributor. You have to go to Activision or whoever that produces the games to get it. I didn't know. I was just learning. And my dad didn't know anything about it. Nobody knew anything about it. So I was like, "All right, I'm going to spend $500 and figure it the fuck out." Turns out they came in the case, but they were all bootleg copies. And so when I tried to sell them in school, in middle school, luckily the first person I sold it to brought it back and told me it didn't work. And so that was like one of the many business ventures that failed, that I was trying to learn how to hustle. And what's it called? But that basically explains, why in middle school I was so keen on trying to learn how to make money. Because that was what I was trying to focus at the time, because I wanted to have the ability, like, I wanted to make money regardless. I wanted to make as much money as I could. I just didn't know how. Like, I couldn't get a job. I couldn't do anything for my family because they were broke anyway. Like, I can't get allowance money. And so I was basically trying to figure out all this money shit for the longest time, all the way through middle school. Now, some important events in middle school. By the time I was in sixth grade, my dad got me, I was like asking for the longest time to get my own computer. And so I got my first computer, my first PC. And what's it called? That first PC was, it meant a lot to me because I got into everything. I got into Minecraft, I got into TeamSpeak, I got into Skype. That's how, anyway, so basically, uh, but yeah, that was how the whole Skype thing started. Because I was playing Minecraft survival games at the time. Because I didn't want to do sports anymore, and I asked my family if I could do like basketball or whatever, and I don't know what it is with Asian parents and kids like doing any sports outside of the ones that the Asian parents approve of, but like I wanted to play basketball, like I wanted to do all this other stuff, but like I never got permission or whatever, and I hated that shit. And so I was like, all right, you know what? I basically told my family, I'm just gonna learn about video games and all this other stuff and learn how to make stuff, because I was using Scratch from MIT, I was using Unity 3D, I was using Blender, all these video game design software stuff. And that's when I got Minecraft for the first time. I think it was like winter 2011 or whatever, and I got like the official copy through the Mojang website instead of playing on Google Chrome, where you could play like the beta version of Minecraft in the browser. And so, and at the time, this is when like Suzanne Collins' Hunger Games, like what's it called? The movie was out, and so like all the people in Minecraft making the replica, they made like Minecraft survival games or whatever, and that's when I got into that whole thing, and that's when I got into competitive video games, because it turns out I was really fucking good as an individual player. Because like it, and long story short, for anybody watching this, anytime I have to work alone, I do really, really well by myself. Anytime I have to work with a team, I do terribly. because it's just like I just can't work with other people because they're too slow for me, in my opinion. And so I made it to rank number one in Minecraft survival games on the NA server out of like the 2 million players that were on the website. Right, I had like over 200 wins or whatever, first place, because that was like the start of the battle royale. A lot of people like to say it was H1 Z1 or whatever. No, it was Minecraft survival games. In terms of chronology, that was the first battle royale game before it kicked off. It evolved into it became PUBG was next, and then after PUBG was Fortnite. But at Fortnite I stopped because like Fortnite was just kind of stupid to me. I was like, you're gonna build a wall. Like I like the realism of PUBG because you had guns and shit. Minecraft is okay. It's like a kiddie game, but you know I liked it. I liked the realism of it. And so, but at the time, oh, and so if you guys want to know the story as to how I got into League of Legends, it was my youngest millennial's boyfriend at the time that introduced me to League. So that was the person that got me into League. They told me about the game. I downloaded it. I played it. The only reason why I know when I started the account was because when you made the account, if you subscribe to the Riot Games YouTube channel and you like them on Facebook, you got like the Riot Girl Tristana skin and the Unchained Alistar skin. And if you referred your friends, because I was referring everybody in our friend group at the time, and I got them all to download League. So I got the medieval Twitch skin because of the referrals. But I didn't get the Earthwick. I got the medieval Twitch skin because that's how many people I referred. Like I got everybody in our school to play it basically. So like that's how I got the skin. I was kind of pissed off that Riot didn't give me like the special border to show that I was like one of the early people that was like referring people. Because now they made it so you can buy it with Mythic. I don't play League like that anymore, but you know whatever. I don't care. Um, I'm almost out of water. But anyway, yeah. So that was that. And that's how I got into wanting to do YouTube. So I was making YouTube videos, like whatever, recording the gameplay when I was playing with all my old friend group or whatever on my old YouTube channel. Like all that stuff was just me just trying in the world, trying to do stuff, despite being flawed. Like despite having a crazy childhood or whatever you want to call it. Again, I don't look to myself as a victim. Like I don't ever want that label. I don't ever want to subscribe to that label. It's not me. Um and what's it called? And so that was middle school. High school, I got more into that stuff. Like high school, I went through like this idea that I'm just gonna go through another phase. Somewhere during high school, like it was the whole breakout of the friend group. Like I did the whole thing of like booting everybody out of the Skype group and seeing who was actually like a real friend, and they formed their own group, whatever it was. Um, it was whatever. Like for me, it's like I didn't. Nobody tells me how to live life. Like I had to figure all this shit through trial and error. And so whatever happened then was whatever happened then. Like I gotta keep moving forward. Um. Oh, other major event. So eighth grade was the year that my grandmother passed away. So my dad's mom passed away, and so we had to go to Cambodia for the funeral. And so at this time, um, so it was like we stayed in Cambodia for a week. My dad got into like a really bad argument with my mom, and basically threatened my mom that when he comes back to America, he's gonna like divorce my mom. He said it in a very very livid and not a very colorful way that I'm just trying to like not say as much. But it was very heated. He basically just told me like, I'm gonna fucking divorce you, like because me describing it that way like really loses its teeth. But basically, it was so bad that like I basically had a point where I was just like fed up with living in that sort of a toxic environment between my dad towards my mom and to me and whatever. And so basically like he would just like up and leave and walk out on my mom. And so basically what ended up happening was that um I I basically kicked him out by when he left. I changed the lock on the door with like a new lock from Home Depot. And so when he tried to come back in the next time he came, I basically told him that if he stepped 1 foot into the house, I was gonna call the cops on him. And that was that. He basically like tried to use the whole like I'm your dad. Do you like fear, obligation, guilt, the three sign, the fog, the things of bad people. And so, like, whatever it was, I stood my ground, and I basically told my mom that if she ended up not breaking up with him, I was just gonna leave. Like, I didn't care what it was. I was gonna leave and go figure out life on my own with my younger sibling. So that's all that it was. And so, and from that point, this is a side story, but for the rest of my life, I have to live with the fact that I made the decision to kick my dad out of my life, despite whatever happens. And so, for the longest time, I never really wanted to explain that fully on stream. But now, like, now that, I already said what I wanted to say to my family, I don't care anymore. It's like, I'm not holding anything back anymore. I try to, like, people raise you to not try to bring family drama. Like, I don't believe in conventional wisdom. Fuck that. I'm already prepared for the fact for the rest of my life. Nobody in my family is going to have contact with me. I'm perfectly okay with that. I do not care. Like, if I have to, if no, like, if I get married in the future and nobody in my family shows up at my wedding, I don't give a shit. Because at this point in time, I never had anybody to talk to anyway. I never could talk to anybody about any of the stuff in my life. So not having a connection with people that I don't really have a connection with, I'm not losing anything. I'm not losing anything. It's not like I had anything much to begin with other than like touch and go, like, oh, I see you at this family event. I know your name, but like we don't have a relationship beyond that. I'm only seeing you at family events. That's it. We don't have a relationship. So to like, oh my god, this person's never gonna talk to you again. It's like, why the fuck would I care? You never talk to me. You don't know me beyond my name. Like, why the fuck would I care? So that's just my personal opinion on that shit. But yeah, so I never like I always wanted to keep stuff about my dad. Like, I never wanted to go into full detail or anything because at the end of the day, here's the other thing too. Again, I don't agree with what people do is wrong. Okay, if somebody does a bad thing, that's a bad thing. But because I studied criminal psychology, it's like you have to understand why these people do the things that they do. And so for me, the only reason why I keep a connection with my dad, because like I see my dad, like I can maintain a relationship with him, not because I've forgiven him or like some fucking stupid shit like that, or like you get back with your abuser or whatever mainstream popular culture is saying or whatever the fuck it is. No, it's just that the way I look at it, and this is my philosophy, the way that I treat my parents, the way that I treat others, are the same way that my children and other people are going to treat me. Like I can't control whatever they were raised to believe or think. I cannot control whatever the fuck was going on with them, whatever it is, right? But I can choose how I allow myself to behave with others and my potentially future children if I have any. So the generational curse ends with me. I cut the chain off right here. I choose to cut that shit off. So like just because my grandfather did it to my dad and my dad did it to me doesn't mean I have to do it to my kids or to anybody around me. Like I will never physically abuse anybody. Like I may get loud, I may get upset, I may get, raise my voice, but that's about as far as I'll go. Like I'm not going to fucking like I would never, because I already knew already what it was like as a kid. I would never do that shit. Because that doesn't create a relationship with your kids. It makes your kids resent you. So that's just me personally. But now that I'm older and I can understand why my dad did what he did, it's like, it's understandable. Like I can understand. I empathize with it. I don't agree with it. That doesn't mean I would do it. It's just that, I can understand. And so like I set that boundary with my dad. I set that boundary with anybody. It's like, look, I don't like what you did, but I'm not gonna like, just because I know, my future children will ask, like, hey, where's grandpa, right? It's like I don't know if I'm gonna have him around. Like for the most part, he can see my kids, but like I'm not gonna, weekend over with grandpa, like that's not fucking happening. Like he can see my kids, like with and so my dad remarried, and so I also have other family members now too, new family members, and I don't want to get them in the mix because they're very young. But and that's the other reason too, is because I have, additional siblings that I have to be a good role model for. And so like that's another big motivator for me. So, because like, like the way I look at it is that like, they have to grow up with my dad, and I hope my dad doesn't do the same shit with them. I can't tell. I'm not there. I don't live there. I can't tell. But in a sense, it's like, like when I had that epiphany, when I had the understanding that like, all he did was remarry another woman, and he had like the same set. It's like, I just can't help but hope that they come out unscathed. Maybe he learned with his, his first wife. I don't know. But all I know is that I can't wait for that answer. All I can know is that I can just focus on what I have control over, which is myself, and not allowing anything to happen to me to happen to anybody else. That's it. Like, I can't save anybody. I'm not Captain Save-A-Ho. But I just know that it's going to start with me and whoever my kids are. That's it. And anybody that I can have a air quote influence on as like a social media influencer or whatever the fuck it is. If people care or willing to listen to my story, which I don't care. I already know already that I'm fine with people thinking that I'm like a problem child or a problem person, that I have mental health issues or whatever the fuck it is. I don't care. That's not my problem anymore. I have a way to make money. I'm never gonna go hungry. I'm never gonna go broke again. Like, you can take away my car and all the shit that I own. I can always get it back. That's the thing that I love about skills, is that you can take away everything, but you can't take away my skills. Um, so that's like basically catch you up to date of what happened with me having to grow up after like my dad, and why I ended up having to discover my own path, why I got into League, why I got into streaming, why I decided that college wasn't worth it, even though I initially went to try to make my family happy, but with how fucking expensive it was and the fact that my family's broke and my mom's also a single mom, it's like, I cannot go to college getting help from family and just milking money from, or getting, making people work to support my living. Like, ever since I got my first job when I was 16 as a lifeguard, I bought everything on my own. I bought my own computer, I bought my own equipment, I bought everything that I could with my own money. The only thing I didn't buy was food or pay for rent. That's all, or pay for like, living. Like, I didn't pay for the electricity, I didn't pay for water, I didn't pay for the grocery bills. And I'm very grateful that I got that from family. But anything that anything I wanted on my own computer, my own phone, I would pay for that shit. Whatever I could pay for. Like, all my camera equipment, all my workout equipment, nobody gave me the money for that shit. I worked jobs so I could fucking afford that shit. That nobody gave me that shit. Besides clothing that we would find on sale, because I always love looking for things that are like $1 for like a pair of what's it called, for a pack of 6 underwear. That's the shit that I always bargain dive for. I love getting that shit. I love going to stores and they have that fucking shit. Like, you wonder why sometimes I wear like very similar shirts. It's because I bought the same colored shirt like 3 times. Or like I bought the same colored pants like 3 times. It was all on sale. It was on clearance. They're getting rid of it from the store. And it's like, you can buy it for like $1 a piece. It's like, that's what I fucking got. Besides that and like other clothes, like that's like, for me, I tried it. Because I know my family wasn't wealthy. And it's not that we were struggling with money, but like, you gotta, every single time you work, you're paying bills. And so because I knew that, I was aware of that because of all the stories my mom shared with me of her surviving with her family. Like, the biggest story I'll share with you guys right now is that, so before my great grandma passed away during the communist time, right? When you're growing up in the communist camps, you don't have any food to eat because it's equal distribution of wealth. Only the communists got to decide how much your portions were your rations were at the end of the week, and it was literally nothing. And so you do whatever you could to survive, whether it was going to the rice paddy fields and catching little frogs and crayfish or whatever. But here's the deal, though. They didn't want you to do that either. And so if you were caught trying to make food for yourself, you were killed. And so one of the stories that my mom shared with me, and there's a story that my dad shared with me, right? But I'll share both of them so you understand why I cared so much about not causing my family trouble financially. Um, when you're hungry, you'll eat anything. And so like my great grandma like, cooked baked a potato, right? With whatever like leftover fire smolders that were there. You bury it under the dirt because the dirt was very hot, and you'd cook it in there, right? And when it's done, you come and take it out of the dirt, you brush off the dirt, and you cut it up to eat it, right? And so she was trying to share it with my mom and her siblings and everybody that was hungry, right? And so she volunteered. She didn't tell, them as kids, like my mom was like 4, like they don't fucking understand this shit. my great grandma would volunteer to eat the root, okay, of the potato. The worst part of the potato. It's bitter. It doesn't taste fucking good. And she would give all like the meaty parts, like the yummy, soft parts, to like everybody else, right? And so like everybody would ask her like like all the kids would ask her like, oh, why are you like eating the root all the time? And her response is like like it tastes good to me. Like parents fucking lie. Like people lie. Like they're not telling you the truth, right? Because you can't understand, right? And so like to me like that story struck a chord with me growing up as a kid. Like oh like because like I wasn't fucking dumb. Like I was well read. I knew all this fucking shit, and from there like that perspective on top of my dad's story like shaped how I viewed family. And so what's it called? My dad and his siblings were so fucking hungry. Him and his youngest brother were going around to the different like general and like communist houses that all the soldiers were living in or whatever, like the high ranking commanders, whatever. And they got to eat the good food, right? And so they would throw their trash out on the side of the house, right? And so he and his younger brother would go around collecting, for example, like they would eat fish, right? Because it's Cambodia. It's like a Southeast Asian region near the Mekong River, so fish was very plenty there. And so they would take the fish bones and they would like basically like try to hide in like a small little like metal crucible and cook it at a very high heat so that you would melt the bones down to like bone meal and you could eat that. That's how hungry they were. And so like all those stories of them surviving, like I learned about it because like I asked all the times I would argue and try to learn, I tried to learn about their stories, my origin. And so when I first got to college that first semester, I was like, holy shit, dude! I have $60,000 loan for my first year that I don't even have the money for. Let alone like I was making what nine some dollars an hour working as a lifeguard from my summer job. And, I was expected to go to college for 6 years and come out with $240,000 in debt just to go for pharmacy. Like, I was like, there's no fucking way I'm doing this. And, like, I try to save money for my family by staying at home and commuting. I would take the SEPTA to go from here in King of Prussia all the way to Philly. I would go to 30th Street and Market and take it all the way up to Woodland Avenue where I went to U Sciences. But still, that was like, it was so like, because at the time I wanted to stream too. I wanted to focus on, creating content and all this other stuff. So like it conflicted, and I was like, dude, I cannot go to college and do this at the same time. I need to pick one or the other. And I was like, there's no way I'm going to college. Like I never really liked it after, like, I liked science. That's why I was able to think of going with pharmacy, and I didn't want to spend 12 years of becoming a doctor, so that's why I went for their PharmD program, because I would have came out with a doctorate in pharmacy. I would have been done in 6 years. But $240,000 of money that I didn't have, and the fact that school just was not aligned with me trying to become as wealthy as fucking possible, those didn't check out. So I left school. And so that's why I went through like working a whole bunch of different part-time jobs. I worked at like GameStop. I worked at Brookstone at the mall. I worked at all these different jobs. I worked for a lab company where I was working alongside people with college degrees, and I was making same amount of money as them, as like a kid who just didn't have a college degree, and they were working lab jobs. It's like, bro, it's like it really mind fucked me at like and I was always consuming, I was always trying to learn from other successful people that I thought were successful, whatever notes I could take from other successful people. This is like 5 years ago, 6 years ago, every like all these motivational people, all these speakers or whatever, these self-help books. Once I had enough money, I was buying like all these books that considered the self-help holy grails or whatever, and I was reading that shit because I just felt like there was literally nobody in my family, nobody in my friend group, nobody that I could talk to about wanting to become wealthy or make a better life for yourself. And so that's why I was always like isolated. That's why I was always alone. And again, this is not me trying to get sympathy from anybody. I'm just explaining to you how it felt. Whatever you interpret as, I don't care. It's you're privileged to have your opinion. I'm just telling you so you can form your own opinion, hearing from the horse's mouth, from my mouth. But yeah, so that was basically all the way up to date where we're at now. So like I work out, and I got into Uber. I made, it's official, it's on my tax document for the IRS. For 6 months of driving Uber, I made $80,000 in a year that I had to file taxes on. I filed taxes on $80,000 that I drove and made in 6 months. So that's like, that right there is, there you go. Like And that was only for half a year. If I did a full year of driving Uber, I could make six figures driving Uber. So I don't talk about this because I put all of my screenshots of how much money I make on Uber every single day and where I put my stock investments. So there's no there's no again, I got into the habit of documenting my life because of my dad, because my dad recorded my childhood growing up. And so I really like that idea. And so for me, I evolved from journaling because I read like Diaries of a Wimpy Kid, and so I had my own journal. And there was a time where my dad invaded my privacy and read what was like all the secret stuff that I kept in my journal, and so I got my ass beat for that. But anyway, and so evolved to instead of me making a journal, just make a YouTube channel. And so that's why all the time I've been documenting my life. And on top of the fact that what I'm about to share with you, like the thing that I really wanted to talk with you about, why I've documented my life on camera all the time, 24/7, because I never want anything, because early on I understood that there's like social media, paparazzi, whatever, especially when I started learning about like how hateful people can be online. And so I knew that I needed to cover my ass because like there's no other way I can do it. Like it was funny because like I started doing all this before police officers started wearing body cams. And so that's what I find so funny about it. It's like everybody basically figured out what the meta is. Like, anything you do should be well documented online for legal purposes. All right. I just want to make sure that you're good, and then I can start going into basically what happened growing up as a kid. Because I just wanted to make sure that I catch you up to speed so we have the full context as to like what living life like me was. Okay, cool. All right. Let me go get a bottle of water before we go into this next part. Ah, man. Oh, man. Okay. I wonder if I should clip it here, because this one might be a little bit lengthy, so we'll split this up in the part 2. Give me 1 second, I'm just going to make a clip on YouTube for this. Or actually, no, it's better to keep it. I think I can keep it under an hour, because it's not that crazy. Like, it's not that lengthy. Okay, so here we go. So growing up in my family, any topics about money, religion, politics, sex, and especially sex, because this is what we're going to get into, is taboo, right? It's like you can't talk to anybody about this stuff. And anytime you try to talk back against your parents, you try to like argue, or you argue with anybody in the family, they think you're hard-headed, they think you're stubborn, they think you should shut the fuck up, or like, I'm gonna beat your ass. That's basically what I got growing up as a kid. But that doesn't solve any questions that I had. That doesn't help me at all, because that's how I had to grow up and ask everything and figure shit out for myself. Like, I never had the ability to just go hey, can you explain to me this thing that I want to know more about? Like, nope. Never. Rarely. And, you grow up thinking that you can trust family, but long story short, I don't trust anybody. I don't trust anybody family-wise, really. What you think is family doesn't really mean anything. To me, at least, that's the type of my connection that I have with family. It's like, besides the ones that have, taken the time to taking care of me or drive me from point A to point B or were there for me, and I don't know how you say there for me, but my only connection is that when my grandma has multiple siblings, and again, I mentioned my great aunt passed away, so she was the second youngest, because the first one was like a young brother who was killed by the communists before they even made it to America. So she's the first one to pass away here in America, and there's a couple more left of their generation. And so inevitably, they will die. And because they, each one of them has done something for me, whether it's give me Christmas presents or birthday presents or whatever, and they, may not have understood what the goals I want to go for are, but they're old. Like, I get it. They come from an older generation, and like, they weren't the ones that did anything to me. I would just get into arguments with them all the time. Anytime I wanted to express my opinions or anything I wanted to do with my life. But I learned very early on through those interactions that like, you're not gonna talk to any of them about it. So I never really wanted to talk to them anymore about anything personal with me, other than hi and bye and like, how are you doing? Never in detail again about any of my goals or my dreams or anything that I wanted to do with my life. And so tithing this all back, you have to remember again, I never had any real like play dates, going to friends or whatever it was. I was very socially isolated growing up as a kid. And so, I was always happy whenever it was like the weekend and my dad was taking me over to spend time with my cousins, because my cousins lived in Philly. Even though we lived in the suburbs, my cousins lived in Philly. And so at the time, I was about 6 years old. I was in first grade in kindergarten. And when I was over at my cousin's house, we just run around the house, we play, whatever. We go like, explore different parts of the house, whatever it was. And at the time, I didn't know that my cousin that was older than me, of another set generation, because my dad's side of the family is different than my mom's side of the family, my childhood friend's side of the family. But basically, what's it called? Basically, this cousin was autistic. I didn't know. Like, there was an accident that was involved that I don't know if it was autism or if I think it's some sort of physical thing that happened. I don't know if it was really autism, but basically, the person was pushed out a window from like 10 feet up in the air. Luckily, they survived, but they basically became like a vegetable, so to speak. Like they're able to function, they're able to act like a person, but like their mental capacity is like just not there, like really not there. Like they will talk in somewhat slurs or whatever. But at the time, I didn't know that as a kid. Like I didn't understand that. And like to me, like this person on my dad's side of the family is like we all take good care of this person. It's like there's no stigma or any stupid shit like that. It's like like everybody takes care of our cousin. So it's like but anyway, me, them, like we would always like run around doing just whatever. We'd play on the Game Boys, we'd run around the house, whatever. But we entered one of the rooms in the house that you really shouldn't be going to other people's bedrooms, but nobody's supervising us, like nobody's watching us, like we're just there for like oh, we're gonna drop our kids off over at your house because we're busy, we have to do we're working or whatever it is, can you like look over our kids? Yeah, sure, whatever, blah blah blah. And so one of the rooms was somebody's room, and again, I'm not trying to dox anybody. And so like we were like we were being nosy as shit, and we were going through people's like this person's stuff. And so we came across and again, this is like I was like 6, I think. I can't remember how old my cousin at the time was. And so we came across a like bootleg DVD, and we're like, oh, what's this? And so we went back to my cousin's room to fire it up and watch it, right? And so here's what it was. Like, there's no suspense here. It was a porno disc. And so like I, as a fucking 6-year-old kid, and this is the biggest reason why, if you guys wonder why I'm very adamant about anything that's in regards to teaching kids about sex, or like anything in regards to sex, like I'm very like firm on it, is because this was the event that triggered basically the start of everything that fucking fucked me up. And so yeah, and so basically, and again, this is when I was 6 years old, so I have to chronicleize this, because this is very important, because what, like, it could be something as small as that to anybody else listening to this that will fuck your future. Like, you don't know what it is, but like something in your past has an influence on you, whether you're aware of it or not. Luckily for me, I got to wrangle with it for a while to figure out what was right and wrong until I finally made a decision. So here's what happened. The weekend, like this was on the weekend, because the day after was like Monday, we go back to school, right? And at Cayley Elementary, when you're in first grade, the way that they do it is that when you go back to class or whatever, you would like draw and write about what happened over the weekend and you'd share it with the class. So guess what my ass did? I drew porn on a piece of paper or on the presentation paper or whatever, and I described it on the paper. When it was my turn to present, I read it to the class. And so my parents got called in to the school with the principal and the teachers. And they had to investigate and ask, like, what the fuck was going on? Why am I doing, like, why did your son present this in school, basically? It's like, and for me, I didn't fucking know. I told them everything I knew. It's like, you know, we saw something, like, I explained them everything. That was the only time. Only because it was presented in school. If that didn't fucking happen, who knows the damage that that would have left on me for the rest of my life. Because long story short, and I'm really like not angry or whatever. I'm just really sad that, you know, this is what happened, but it is what it is. Like I've been holding this back for the longest time because I never really wanted to talk about it fully publicly because I didn't want to drag anybody into the mess. But like, again, like whether you want to call this parental neglect or whatever it is, like all I care about is what I did wrong. And nobody else. Like it's not my job to say how you should parent your kids or whatever the fuck it is. I just know that I'm never going to let my kids be alone. Like I'm never going to let my kids like unless I give them like, you know, like if, you know, some creepy aunt or uncle tries to inappropriately touch you, or like, you know, you see something that you probably shouldn't be seeing, like you just basically teach your kids, like, you know, no, you're like, if somebody is trying to get you alone, like, you know, or whatever, like, don't be alone, let me know, like, and my kids will fucking know that, because like, this is, because all the stories that I've read online and all the other people that I've heard their stories about, it's like, this is how it all starts. Creepy family members, either it's creepy family members or you stumble upon it because somebody doesn't know what it is and you come across it, whether it's sex or some sort of traumatizing thing. And so, again, I didn't know, and I don't blame my cousin because he was fucking autistic. He doesn't know what the fuck, like, he doesn't know what the fuck, like, we were even watching either, and he was like a few years older than me. Again, he's got full fucking autism. He can't fucking speak full fucking sentences. So no, this person is not in the wrong. This person never did anything or whatever the fuck it is. They can even have a full, they have trouble putting on clothes. That's the level of like mental capacity that they have. Okay. And I didn't know. I knew there was something different about my cousin, but I never knew like what it was or why as a 6-year-old kid. And so that cousin got in trouble with my family on my dad's side of the family and basically got his ass beat. Because, like, he doesn't fucking know. And that's the thing that was so fucked up about it. And so when I saw that, I was like, okay, I guess there's nobody in the family that I can talk to about this. And that was it. That was the end of it, by the way. So what ended up happening is that, remember I was talking about how I was always in school and I never had anybody to talk to about any of this shit? I went and did the research on my own. I would go to the library. I'd get rejected. Like, I can't borrow books on anatomy. I can't borrow books on the human body. I can't understand what the fuck. Like, I can't see books with the male or the female genitalia. Okay? And so, the way this metastasized was, and I say this with, like, I'm really, you know, it's like, the way I'm going to describe this before I let it all out is, imagine if you had to go back and watch your life as a movie, right? But the thing is that you can only watch your life as a movie. And you're sitting there in the theater and you're watching your life play again for you, right? Let's say you're about to die, right? And you're about to watch your life from beginning to end. You see everything, all of the decisions that you made, good, bad, whatever. And you come across like the more sensitive parts of your life where you wish you could have done something differently. But guess what? You're behind the fucking screen. You can't change it. It happened. Whether this is about trauma for other people that have trauma or whatever it is, like, dude, this is not something that you can make it, you know, you can't change. It's unchangeable. The past is done. And so when I share this, understand that, I journaled about this, I wrote about this, I had nobody to talk to about this. I had to figure out my own fucking way through life because I had no support. And I'm saying this because, again, it's like, I don't need anybody to feel bad for me. All I know is that I just don't want anybody, whether it's my children or any other person, to go through this shit ever again. So here's what happened. So because I was curious as a kid, and I was always, always responded with like, oh, you're asking too many questions, go figure it out yourself, whatever the fuck it is, go to the library, and I couldn't get any things on the topic. The only person that I could explore what I understood or what I saw from that pornography was with like one person that was about my age. And they were my childhood friend. So again, no names, nothing. I already explained to this childhood friend, and here's the deal. If you guys want the synopsis of this person gave me a letter when I graduated from high school. Basically, letting me know that they have no resentment. I have the letter, and I'm going to show the letter on stream because it's finally time that I'm taking it out. Because this is the reason why I'm on the path of redemption that I'm on was like really mainly because of this letter that they gave me. And you'll understand once you hear it and once I read it to you. And again, I'm just sharing with you what happened. Whatever opinions you want to form of me, you're privileged to do so. I've been alone my entire life. I'm perfectly fine with people walking out because I've had plenty of people walked out when I shared this story. So here we go. So yeah, this person was about my age. So to me, I didn't really understand, conceptualize, what is okay and what's not okay and whatever it was. And so basically I explained to them what I saw in the porno and if they'd be interested in wanting to understand that with me too. And so whenever we were alone, I would always explore, we would explore each other, if that makes any sense. And I'm trying to be very YouTube friendly with this. But that's about as far as I go. We didn't do anything crazy. It's just and when I studied child psychology and other people that went through this similar type of phase, because again, you can Google this, you can Reddit this, this is not this is not a rare phenomenon. And it's not, I'm not saying that it's common. I'm just saying that for kids that are interested in the human body and something triggered it, right? Unfortunately for me, it was being introduced to porn at the age of fucking 6, okay? But for other people, whether it's watching their parents have sex or because their parents don't fucking care or they, their friend gave them a porno magazine or whatever the fuck it is, right? This is not again, this is not an isolated case. It's just that because of how taboo talking about sex is in most families, you're mostly never going to hear about it. But for the longest time, I've wanted to share my story because I don't want anybody to ever have to go through the shit that I had to go through of not having anybody to talk to, and it gets to the point where it gets bad. Because this story only gets worse, okay? Up to the point, and so I'm softening it up for you guys, for everybody here, because I know there are some sensitive people in the audience too, and this is on YouTube. But this is a very important story because this basically formed my origin of why I am so devoted to the mission that I have in life and what I'm trying to do with my time on this planet. And so yeah, it was anytime I was spending time with my, family friend, we, we would get together, isolated, whether it was in the bathroom or in the closet, just exploring what what the opposite sex human body was, right? And so, it got until around the time we go into middle school, right? And so middle school is, and again, this person's just a year younger than me. So this is not this is and to me, I didn't know any of this stuff was you probably shouldn't do that, whatever it is, blah, blah, blah. I didn't fucking know. How the fuck am I supposed to know? And so we get to middle school and, this is around 5th grade in middle school. They, the teachers is that week that they separate the guys from the girls and they show you the puberty video. They talk to you about puberty, their sex education, all that stuff. All the kids are laughing when the teacher talks or the video talks about penis or vagina or whatever. It's yeah. And so
again, it's like, they don't fucking do a good enough job, by the way, to explain to you like the changes that happen to your body and how you start feeling. Because before I was a young kid, before I entered middle school, I never cared about girls. Like I always looked at girls as like, oh, they're just like, somebody of the opposite sex, but like whatever that's supposed to mean. Because like I always treated girls like boys. Like I never really like treated girls like girls. Like, yeah, they watch Barbie or play with dolls, but like any of the girls that were interested in playing with Legos or talking about Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh, like that's who I talk to. It's like, yeah, you want to play, you like video games, like you like talking about this stuff, yeah, let's talk about that stuff. But if they were like, they weren't into that stuff, like I didn't bother and I didn't care. But it was around middle school, especially as a young male, and for any of you young guys listening to this, this is when testosterone starts. You got all the growth hormones that are making you taller, and you're now getting introduced to your seminal vesicles producing a lot of testosterone. So you have a lot of hormones running around through your system. So you become more acute to sex, which is why around middle school is appropriate, in my opinion. I think it's okay to be more open about that topic with kids at 10 years old, when they transition from elementary school to middle school. But any other age beyond, before that, before they start feeling the hormonal changes, nah, that's fucked up. No, you don't ever introduce your kids to sex before they hit puberty. That's my rule of thumb. Like, that's my personal take on it. And so it was good that they introduced that, because I didn't understand why I had the curiosity that I did until like that. So like one thing I'm grateful for is that they finally explained the questions that I had for so long about sex and the differences between the sexes, which I didn't fucking understand. And so, because me and my childhood friend were getting older, our views, changed. Like, we still did, the last time that anything like that happened was, God, what age? It never carried over past elementary school. It never carried over past elementary school. No, it wasn't fourth grade. It wasn't third grade. Second grade, I can safely say that second grade was like, it was a couple of times. That was it. And then after that, it was just really nothing. But it wasn't until the middle school sex ed education class or whatever that they introduced you to, or whatever. Like, that's when I started, what's it called, wanting to do research again. And so, what's it called? And this is the really fucked up part that I wanted to say. And so, by the way, let me get my mic on stream. I gotta say this quickly before they go. So basically, because my childhood friend would sleep over, like we would have sleepovers because our families were hardworking, and so to share responsibilities with other parents, they would have the kids sleep over or whatever it was. But one night, it was just what I did was wrong. So first of all, let me say this very clearly. I know, as I'm 25 years old, okay? And I knew, like, I had a feeling of what I did was wrong as when I did the thing that I did, okay? But I didn't really understand it. I just didn't know, like, I just went with whatever I felt was, okay. And so while my family friend was sleeping over, right? And we're all like, we're all sleeping together as a group, okay?
we all sleep in the living room. We set up the floor as like we've been doing this since we were kids. We'd like spent like the night would be a sleepover. We'd watch a movie, whether it's like Aladdin or whatever the fuck it was. And so like we were always all like sleeping together as a group. And so one night, long story short, I basically was coming up from like my room to like join everybody that was sleeping in the living room. And so basically what I ended up doing is that I'm just gonna fire it anyway. I want you to know this and have a couple minutes to process it before you go. But I basically crawled into bed like on the floor, like think of like sleeping bags type of shit. And so like I tried to like touch them inappropriately while they were sleeping. Basically and again I'm being very careful about the language here because because I have to tell you, I have to explain to you why this all got fucked up because other people got involved and they didn't know what the fuck happened. And I'm telling you exactly what happened. And so like I tried to touch them inappropriately while they were sleeping. And I tried to get them to touch me inappropriately while I was sleeping. Or sorry, while I was like sleeping next to them. But the childhood friend woke up and went to the bathroom. So like it didn't go beyond like they woke up when I like basically was like touching them, but like it was weird because like there wasn't it basically got up, nothing was said, right? And so but the feeling that I had after like they woke up and went to the bathroom and said not a word, I was like, holy shit, what the fuck did I just do? And so like from that point moving forward, that was like when everything like changed in my life. So you can go now and just let me know. Text me on Discord when you are able to you're caught up with the stream, and you can hear me. Okay. And I don't know how you feel. I'm sorry, but like I just wanted you to. No, I wanted you to know that just so you know because I can't hear your voice. So like but I wanted you to know that because this is like that's the only thing. That literally is the only thing. And I'm gonna explain to you the fallout of everything that happened after that. So let me know. Text me when you text me when you're able to listen on stream. Unless you can't take your phone with me to shoot a message through Discord to me. I just want to know so I can like continue. That's all. Okay. 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 I just wish I could have had you here for the whole thing because like sorry, I'm not gonna. No, you're good. You're good. You're not saying that. Hold on, let me mute my mic on stream. Okay, we're gonna wait 2 minutes, and we're gonna continue with the fallout of what happened with this thing. Okay. I can't go beyond 5:30 because I want to clip this as a 2-hour clip to put it on YouTube. So I'm gonna try to encapsulate most of the fallout in 30 minutes because this is extremely important because this is gonna lead you to how my psychology, like why I think the way that I do, and like what got me to where like how I became more self-aware because I was already journaling and I was already self-aware of like that night was like terrible, like what the fuck I did was wrong. Like it's like you don't know as a kid, right? But there is like a feeling inside of you that something that you're doing might not be right, but you go through with it, you do it anyway because like you're like I don't know, like let's try it out and see what the fuck happens, right? But once you realize, you're like, oh no, like what the fuck did I just do, right? It's like that feeling, by the way, that's the feeling that you feel when you cringe at something, right? It's like I don't know if any other people can describe that same feeling, but you're like when you think back on it, it's like why the fuck did I do that? Right? It's like why the fuck did I do? It's like you think when you think back on these events, right? You're like holy shit, was I a retarded kid, right? So, like, why the fuck did I do that? But it's like, again, it's like, you have to understand, right? It's like, nobody's telling you, like, nobody told me about any of this stuff. And I'm not excusing myself, by the way. I'm not excusing myself. I'm just I'm contextualizing it because, from what I've learned from a lot of conversations with different people, over 3,000 different people that I've talked to, context is extremely important. And you either set the context up front or people will create the context for you. So I'd much rather say it from my mouth and let everybody else come up with their own opinions than, whisper down the lane and then everything gets taken out of context. Like, I'm not going to let that fucking happen. So anyway, I think enough time has passed. I think they have their earbud in to listen to the rest of this. And so we're going to continue with this. So let's go. So here we go. So after that, nothing really happened. I remember that night was New Year's. It was like New Year's Eve, and we were trying out some drinks because, like, what's it called? By the way, I am very against alcohol. The only reason why we were trying some drinks, right, was that we had like soda and whatever it was, and somebody in the family bought Bailey's Irish Cream. And I hate alcohol. Like, I hate the smell of it. I never drink it. That's why you don't see me drinking anything on stream. Like, the only thing I drink is like fucking water, milk, and orange juice. You see if you ever look at my Instagram page, you can see all the food that I eat. Only on rare occasions I'll have soda because somebody got it for free, or I'm having like cheesesteak or pizza. That's it. Like, I do not drink. I religiously do not drink, like, for the most part. Like, I only ever drink, like, if it's like a social event, right? It's like, like we're at a wedding and all the Asian people love drinking Hennessy, and like, everybody's like, oh, here's a shot, like, have a shot. It's like, yeah, I'll have like 1 or 2 shots and that's about it. I hate the taste. Like, I don't fucking like alcohol. I never liked alcohol. I never liked smoking because I hated the smell of smoke. I'd never smoked a cigarette before. I never liked weed. I thought weed smelled terrible. I never was into any of that shit. Like, my only vice would be just women. That's it. Like, that's my only vice. Like, I don't drink, I don't smoke, or video games. Video games can be a vice, right? Because they could be some addictive thing that you do. But anyway, so that's that. So, that night was New Year's Eve. I remember because, that was the night I tried Bailey's Irish Cream. Just like a sip of it for like the first time. And I was like, it tasted like, if I remember the taste, if I had to describe it to you, it tasted like the grape medicine that you hate growing up as a kid. Like, they flavor medicine, whether it's orange or grape. Like, Motrin did this, right? And so I hated the taste. That's what it tasted like. It's supposed to be rum and coffee, but I never was the person to drink coffee anyway. I don't drink coffee. I drink tea. Like, if I ever had to drink anything caffeinated, I drink tea. I don't drink fucking coffee. And so I had that shit, and I was like, ugh, it tastes like fucking grape medicine. I don't drink. But yeah, that's how I remember, like, the date and when this happened, for context. And so from that point moving forward, my New Year's resolution was that I was going to try to make sure that I understand relationships with women. Because, again, I grew up watching anime. Like, this was like, Sword Art Online came out. All this anime came out that I started watching on my own because I knew streaming sites. And so I started, watching all this stuff, taking notes. You can see all the way back from, like, anything from before I was 16 on YouTube, like, how my thought process was, what I was thinking, and all that stuff. Like, this is when I really, really focused on doing more YouTube. And so I was going into online dating sites. So, like, what's it called? At the time, there was an app that you could download on the phone called Meow Chat. I don't even know if you can even Google that shit, if that still even exists. Let me see. Meow Chat. Oh my god, look, there's still pictures of this shit. Oh my lord. I'll show you guys. So, see if I can unblur my screen. It was this little shit. This was the icon of it at the time. And so, like, I was, because I was already accustomed to meeting people online, because I did the whole Minecraft survival games thing. So if you go far back enough and you want to, like, Google my history to verify that I'm not lying to you, you can go to, like, I think you can still Google this, MCSG Willy Ren. Let's see if that still exists.
Yeah, so like one of the documents to verify my story is not bullshit. So you guys, I want to, because again, like I never want to make up anything to get sympathy from people. Like I always like telling the truth. Like though for the longest time, I've been wanting to talk about this for the longest time on the internet. I've never cared. Like so like you'll see, right? It's like here's examples of like so okay here's like on the Minecraft Gamer Network. It was MCSG back at the time. But, this was back in 2013. You can read through this. You can verify that, we were using Skype groups, whatever it is. Like, I didn't have as many YouTube videos at the time. But in here, you'll see that they mention, like, Willy Rin, like, what's it called? Let me see if you guys can see my screen. So, like, I was in the top 100, and I managed to hold myself in the top 80 for a while. I realized I needed to meet some new people, whatever. I met some of his friends, the Great Tito, Solvi2, Seno Crafter, Sun God Monkey, and even Willy Rin. So again, like I was the ranked number 1 player on the leaderboard of 2 million players at the time. So like that's how like, and because of how much of a squeaker voice I had, me being like, fucking 12 years old, I lied about my age to try, like I said I was like 4 years older, saying I was like in like high school or whatever at the time when I made the lie, right? Because I didn't want people to be like, oh my God, he's so young, like why is he leading our group? And so like I was worried about that stigma. So like that's why what's it called? When I met these people through Minecraft, right, and we added each other on Skype, and I added them to the Cyan Volts gaming clan, that's why I lied about my age. And all the people that I went to school with that I brought into the group, that I, invited into the Skype group, they knew the story. So, like, they knew, like, I was trying to, like, make us seem like we were older when we were not. And so, like, that's another thing that I think I've talked about before, but if I haven't talked about it, like, that's so you guys know. So that's why, before I turned 16, I think it was like I was 14, 15 when I started explaining fully that I was actually in high school. So it was about the time I was 15 and I met one of my friends, at the time was my best friend, that we played Minecraft survival games. Like we were like, I considered him my best friend at the time. Because again, like I had very little friends and most of my friends were all on the internet, right? And again, this ties into the fact that, again, I kicked my dad out when I was 13. I didn't have a father figure, so I was trying to figure out life on my own because, there's no real strong male figure in my family. And so I had to learn everything on my own. I had to make all the mistakes, right? So like, I'm in like, there's like an old clip of like wax motif of me where I used to live. And I'm just like, in my room, just doing stupid shit because like I'm just, trying to figure out how to like live stream and everything, right? So, there's like all these clips from when I used to, from my old past, and you'll see some of them online. But anyway, yeah, so that was, and so, that was how I got into, meeting people online. That's why, I was so used to talking to people online, because I did it every single day when I was, doing competitive Minecraft survival games, and I was running a gaming clan group, one of the first ones ever on that fucking server. And there was always drama of people wanting to be a leader, and I went on vacation for a week for my grandma's funeral or whatever, and I came back and everybody split and separated. It was crazy. It was like, just kid shit, right? Like you hear about these stories when people have like RuneScape servers and all this other stuff when you're growing up as a kid. Like for me, it was like Minecraft survival games. Like that was the kid drama that I was all a part of or whatever. And so on the side, because I was exploring and understanding like how my mind worked and why I was like, why I liked women, why I had crushes on girls or whatever, blah, 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 because the whole sex talk that they give you in middle school, I got Meow Chat. It was like 2014, 2015. I don't know. I can't remember the exact date because I no longer have some of the old photos that I have. But anyway, I met people that I played with League through that shit too. And, that was how I had like online relationships with different girls. I mean, if you really go far back in the drama, you can pull up some names, like, but I'm not going to mention them here because again, it's like, this is nothing to do with them. But for the most part, most of these relationships are all just online, right? Like, oh, you want to like, you want to hang out in Skype, you want to like text, whatever it was, like, again, like, and then I'm a kid that's just, exploring what it's like to have a relationship with a girl because, like, I didn't ask any girls out in real life. I didn't really like
the girls in my school as much as I could have, maybe. I don't know. Like, there were girls that were cute, but like they never really fit the gamer type of vibe. Like, you know, like it's like if I ever try to mention video games to any of these girls, it's like I'm talking to aliens. It's like they don't give a shit. Like, Minecraft, all the games, like, who the fuck cares? It's like, you know, it's like, all right, I'm not gonna bother. It's like, again, it's like, you know, I like how people pass around the word like incel or whatever online. I wasn't in celibate. There wasn't any girls in real life that I would bother with, and so I would just meet people in video games and just call them over Skype, video call and voice call and whatever. That happened until about high school. So in high school, so I was already in high school around this time, and I was about 16, junior year of high school. Started my junior year of high school. So I just got done with being a sophomore. We went through the summer. I had my whole year of like, okay, what the fuck did I do that night with my childhood friend? And like, you know, I need to set myself straight. And so, you know, that's why I got into the whole, like, you know, I need to make sure that, you know, I understand what is right and what is wrong in relationships. Because when I started watching more anime, I realized, you know, like, that's not the way you're supposed to, like, what I realized, like, you know, it's like, this is not how you treat women or whatever, right? And so, what's it called? And so I had my first girlfriend, real life girlfriend, in junior year of high school. And so what I did was that, you know, I told her about my past. I told her about everything. When I told her everything about my past, she immediately dumped me. Like, and to be expected. It's like, you know, like, I didn't fucking understand. Oh, the fallout. Aha. Okay. So I had to explain it to her because here's what happened. My childhood friend went to my millennials. Okay. I mentioned the millennials earlier, right? Because they wanted to heal from whatever that night was, right? And everything that led up to that night, right? And they had the right to do so. Nothing wrong with that at all. Unfortunately, they picked the worst people to do it with. And so, let me be very clear about this. The reason why I was very unhappy with this millennial part of my family is because these were the same people when I said I wanted to make a YouTube channel and start a business told me that I'd never be successful in that venture. That was it. And I cut them all off. I blocked them all on Facebook. They sat in front of my dinner table, in front of my family. Everybody in the family. When I was explaining what was close to me, I was like, what? I was like 13? 13. Around 13 years old. Because I moved to a different place at the time. Because I remember, it was a very tight space because we lived in an apartment at the time. And I opened up my goals and my dreams of what I wanted to do. And it was immediately shot down. Like, the chance of you being successful doing that are like little to none. Like, you're never gonna be successful doing this. And I was like, wow. I cannot come to them about anything. And so because they grew up in like a very liberal education, right? They played the role of social justice warriors. So yeah, you're gonna get ready for this part. So my childhood friend told them about everything, right? And so they misinterpreted it. And so what they ended up doing is that one day I was, you know, with my family, and because, you know, I live with family, I'm a fucking kid. And this is around the time I was 15. It's like this all happened in succession, right? So like New Year's, I realized that I was, you know, something I was doing was really fucking wrong. And then about, I think the time span was sometime in the spring. So like a few months later, 5, 6, 7 months later or whatever. And my parents were going through the divorce at the same time. So all this stuff was happening at the same time. And so, one of my millennials and their boyfriend, which I mentioned earlier that I said this person that introduced me to League, I'm not going to give them a name, but this person is very significant because this person was also a bad person too. And I can't, you know, I'm very careful with names because I don't want to get this person into any trouble because I know some disclosed stuff that I'm not supposed to know because somebody told me about the shit that this person did. But that's besides the point. I'm not gonna dox anybody. I just, again, it's like I'm not trying to cause trouble for anybody. But now I understand, like, why I isolate myself from everybody and them. So they tried to play the saviors, the social justice warriors, and so it got to the point where police was involved, a light form of police, because, like, whatever, school district was notified, whatever it was, and so everything had to be like hashed out in like some sort of like public sense. So this is like when all this first was coming out, okay? And so, um, it's crazy, bro. Like I cannot explain like how I'm so upset. This is how it played out. They came to my house and they were like, "Hey, we got to talk to you about something." And so they isolated me, okay? They brought me down to like a separate room by myself where the millennial and the millennial's boyfriend basically regurgitated to me what they thought happened. When they weren't there, they weren't fucking, like, they don't know what was going on. It's hearsay. And so the word that they planted in me that I repeated back to my family was a word that I cannot believe they got me to say it. But I am like, I'm not gonna say it on stream because it's not like, I don't know if it's if I'm gonna get this video blocked because I say the word or whatever it is. And no, it's not the R word. It's not grape. Okay, it's not grape. No, it's another word, but oh, it's an M word. M word. I can say that. It's the M word. It's like I didn't fucking know. And so when they explained that to me, like I broke out in tears. Like I didn't even fucking, like, I already knew what happened was wrong, and I was already like trying to, like, because we never talked about it, right? It's like, we still would go to family events or whatever it was, but like it never really was ever talked about ever. And so um it wasn't until this event, right, where millennial and millennial's boyfriend tried to like fucking isolate me to talk about this to me, right, that I went up because my whole family was there. My mom, my freaking her siblings, the family friends' parents were there. My grandparents, every fucking person was there. And I confessed to everybody about exactly everything from what, like, all the events that led me to doing that as a kid, like, when we would, explore every fucking thing, even up to the night where I made the decision to do that. And I was like on my knees, like, and luckily my childhood friends' parents, they were like, God, God bless them with how understanding they would, because I was fully prepared for them to like kill me, to like, fillet my ass, or like, shoot me, whatever the fuck it was. But they understood me. Like, I am forever grateful that the childhood friends' parents were very understanding. But like, I told them everything. I confessed to them everything. I told them everything. Because that to me was like very, like, felt very wrong. I knew it was wrong. Like after, like, especially after what the isolated conversation, I was like, I cannot, like, they came to me so like isolated. And I was like, nah, I gotta tell them. I have to tell them. Like, I can't, like, this is not something that I can, like, I can keep a secret, because you have to understand, for me, if I can, I always want to be honest. But the only reason why growing up in my family I can never be honest is because you'd either get your ass beat, or like nobody will want to talk to you. Like, nobody's gonna talk to you about it. But this is, I could not hold this back. And so I was, I was crying. I was, telling my childhood friends' parents that I was so sorry. Like, I, like, that's, what I did was very wrong. Like, I didn't know, because what they described to me, that word, the severity is like I was gonna go to jail. I was fully prepared that I was gonna go to jail for something that I didn't even know. Like, I didn't understand. Like, I didn't understand it. And so, at that time, I told anybody that was friends with me at the time. I made sure that everybody at the time that was my friends knew. Because I couldn't live my life with people wanting to be friends with somebody who's a criminal, right? Who did a crime. And so I told my girlfriend at the time. I told my best friend at the time. I told my best friend in school at the time. Only one person, my best friend online, stayed by my side. Everybody else was gone. So I've had people that walked out of my life when I told them again. It's like I was the same kid that got in trouble for telling the truth, right? Because like again, it's like I don't believe in hiding a lie. Like it doesn't make any sense to me. It's like you're like why if I why would I lie to you? Like what do I intend to gain by lying to you? Because at some point you're gonna find out the lie. You know what I mean? It's like there's no point in lying in the first place because then you have to pretend that you're somebody that you're not. And especially when I told people my real age after like lying about my age online because I didn't want people to judge me for being like a 12-year-old kid being ranked number one on MCSG and I'm trying to run a gaming clan. It's like like that that was a lot for me like I already didn't like doing that already but again, it's like I can't fight with human nature. That's the other thing too. And so that was that night was, it set me in my mind forever for the rest of my life that I would never make sure that nothing like that ever happens to anybody else again. I didn't know how I was going to do it. I journaled about it. I wrote about it. I never wanted to drag any of my family into the mud because again, it's like, a lot of the stuff that happens in families never gets talked about. And so I wanted to make sure that this never happened to anybody again. And that the fucking millennials ruined that shit. The rift in the family was created, and I no longer I never because I was already focusing on trying to get my life better already by working hustling on just creating YouTube videos and learning how YouTube worked and just making all this shit gaming and whatever. That I just didn't spend time with family anymore. I went all into just trying to just focus on building my life. I wrote constant journal entries. There was so much stuff I was just trying to figure out. Learning how to make money, how to be successful. What's my plan going into college? All this stuff I was planning. I was in the lab cooking all this shit. And, and whatever friends stuck. Any new friend that I brought in, I made sure that they understood the drama if I considered them a friend. If I didn't consider them a friend, I don't care. I already know that so many people have walked out of my life. I already knew that from that point moving forward that 99% of people are not going to like me anyway, and that's okay. I had to get comfortable with that because I already had little to no connections with anybody in my family, whatever. But yeah, the millennials really fucked that up because if I were a parent, if I learned about that from my kids, could have been handled completely differently. And that was that created the rift that ended up between being me and my childhood friend's siblings, and other people in the family, whether they're older or whatever generation. Because I could never talk about it. I could never that night that I told them everything, and I explained to them exactly each account, each incident, whatever, every single time they explored what I remembered, what it was because with a lawyer, right, you're not supposed to basically you say what you need to say to the lawyer, but you don't talk unless necessary. But for me, again, because I grew up as a kid that was always inquisitive and I always talked, I said I don't care. I didn't have a lever to hold back. You know what I mean? I say everything. If you want the truth from me, I tell you the whole truth. That's how I was as a kid, right? If you ask and you press me, right, I'll tell you everything. I've got nothing to hide, and I don't like hiding anything anyway. I only do it as a way to not get my ass beat. That's it, right? It's that's the only thing. It's I don't want to talk back with you about why I don't want to study or why I hate why I hate school. Because if I do that, you're just gonna fucking yell at me or tell me that I should fucking suck it up or whatever the fuck it is, right? But yeah, we're getting close to the cutoff mark for this, so I want to make sure that I wrap this up in 8 minutes before we go into the final part. But yeah, this this led to me down my path of isolation, and why every single relationship with women was very very clear cut. I cannot be with you long term if you cannot be comfortable with me or any of my anything about me. And so that's why for me, I had a lot of girlfriends. I was dating a lot of different people because I was screening and I was, learning for myself, what relationships were like. And especially friends, I phased a lot of different people out of my life that I knew just weren't going to be healthy for me long term. I came across different friends groups and I talked with different friends groups, but a lot of them just didn't stuck because a lot of them just weren't aligned with what I wanted to do. Maybe they played League with me for a bit, but that's about it. But yeah, I just wanted to share this portion because we're nearing the 7 minutes that I want to at least get this into a clip that I can put onto YouTube. But I think that's all the context I need to give before we go into the next part. But yeah, I resolved from that day moving forward, that I like that never is gonna happen to any other kid. Oh, we got 7 minutes. Okay. So let me go get something that's very important. The letter. So just so you guys can verify that this is a handwritten letter, I'm gonna blow it up on screen, but I have to cover what's it called? I have to cover a couple of portions of it. Or actually, no, I'm just gonna show it from here because I don't want you guys to zoom in because again, I don't want names to be, I don't want anything to be misread or whatever it is. So basically, I have a letter right here. That's it. So that's all that's all I'm gonna show. I'm not gonna because again, I'm not trying to edit or what's it called? Whatever it is. Just for privacy purposes, I'm not gonna I'm not gonna say names or identify people. So basically, the reason why I got this letter was I graduated from high school. And here's a little short story about high school. Because of how honest I was, right? I was the manager of the girls volleyball team in our high school for 4 years, for all 4 seasons. And in the final season, as a senior, right? I had this shoulder sling bag. I have a replica of the shoulder sling bag because I got the same copy of it, right? So when I was going through my whole YouTube phase of making YouTube videos, if you guys remember, I did like an old intro to my channel, and if you look at the intro video, you'll see like a clip of me having like a BB gun. So like for me, like I was always filming, I was always using like here's like the camcorder that I used for when I went to like Cambodia and stuff, right? It's like I have all this stuff still, right? And so I hadn't used this bag or the replica bag since for the longest time since I did my filmmaking, right? And so since we were going to an away game, I was like, what can I do for the girls? And so I got I got the bag, and I had like all these portable battery packs. And I was like, you know what? I'll put them in the bag, so like I'll just take them to school, so that the girls can charge their phones while we're on the bus, because it's gonna be a long ride because we had to go from Upper Marion to Plymouth White Marsh High School. And so it was until I got on the bus because I was a little bit late, and so I tossed everything in my bag, and my coach picked me up or whatever and was driving me. I think my coach picked me up and dropped me off at the bus stop with everybody. We all got on the bus. It was when I was handing out the portable battery packs to the girls that at the bottom of my bag I felt my BB gun. I was like, oh shit. And so I didn't say anything, but here's the kicker, right? What ended up happening was the everybody left this after the games were over, whatever. Everybody took their bags, but mine was missing. And so I told the custodial staff over at Plymouth White Marsh High School that, dude, somebody took my bag and I didn't mean to, but I accidentally brought my BB gun to school. And so that got me kicked out of the rest of my senior year, and I had to go do the rest of my schooling online, or not online, on the computer at like this other school for bad kids, basically. And so senior year, I got to understand why school is so bullshit, because like all the courses you can just do online at your own pace or whatever the fuck it was. And so like I had all that free time. But yeah, I went to a different part for my senior year. That's why I have what's called Vantage Academy up there as my one of my diplomas, high school stuff. But anyway, so yeah, I went to Vantage for my final year, and luckily, and we've got video of this. I have video of this. You know, everybody knew about the story about what happened with me, because here's the deal: like everybody in my high school knew me for like being the manager of the girls volleyball team and beating up this dude that started to fight with me. So like at my graduation, at the practice graduation, and at the graduation, when they read my name, everybody gave me a standing ovation. So like they knew. So like I like again, it's like I was sent to Vantage for just like something that I was trying to be honest about, and that's fine. I don't care.
That was just my senior year. I didn't go to senior prom. Some girl asked me out to junior prom during my junior year. So I already went to some other girl's prom, but what's it called? But yeah, anyway, I wanted to damn it. I guess we'll have to wait until the next part because this is gonna get clipped. I'm gonna clip it right now.